Game ain't over till it's over. Thank you, Yogi Berra. The game ain't over until it's over. And if you think about this, if you take a spiritual point of view about who you are as a being, you realize that your spirit is not one of those things that can die. That's one of the things that continues. And even when it's over, it's not over. So you keep playing the game as though you can win it. You charge into the Olympics of your life as though you are the hero of this story, and you take the blows and you get up and you keep moving because that's who you are. And when you can't, you come to a place like this and you go, I can't get up. And someone looks at you and just goes, I know. You'll get back. And that's how you build community at depth. Good morning. We're going to talk about resilience today, both individual and collective. And I'll just preface most of this by saying the collective resilience you can feel in this room when you come here and you realize that you're not alone, that you're with people who have decided to make their life better by being better. And you are also among people who have compassion for where you are, wherever you are, that can accept you as you come in, just as you are, but will be also compassionate enough not to leave you there. So this is a great place to remember and to heal. As I've been told by many people over the years, the first few times I came here, I couldn't stop crying. It happens. We have suffered, and we have suffered alone because many times we thought we were the only one who were like who we are. And so once you find your tribe, your people, the people who understand you without actually knowing you, when you find that, sometimes tears come. It is easy to then go, well, I got this, and to go away. But maybe it's your turn to be that person by being here present that tells someone else you're accepted here. So don't think your presence here means nothing. It's not just for you, it's for everyone else. That being said, let's talk about how we do it personally when we are basically by ourselves in the dark of night, or maybe in the middle of the day. A lot of this will be based on Stoic philosophy. We have done a few talks here on Stoic philosophy, but I'm going to not use all the Stoic words, but they're the same words you'd use in unity, because unity, though I don't know that it was ever consciously based on Stoic philosophy, carries within it some of the same ideas. One of which is that you should be in alignment with your divine self. Now, in Greek, with Stoic philosophies, is eudaimonia. Can't say it very fast. Eudaimonia means you, to be in good relationship, daimon, meaning your soul, your higher self. And to be in good relationship with your soul, you should live with virtue. And virtue, in this sense, is basically doing what is good for you and for others. And to do that, no matter what the circumstances are, no matter how you feel that day, no matter whether it's more convenient and maybe even more profitable to do otherwise in the moment, you always come back to this idea that you will do your best according to your highest understanding in the moment. And granted, your highest understanding may change over time, and it does, but to do your best according to that is your virtue. And to do life in virtue will often, in the end, turn out quite wonderful. But there may be some bumps along the way. And it may call you to do things you don't want to do in the moment. Take, for instance, someone is being bullied. You may not want to say a thing. It might be your pleasure to turn and go the other direction, but to stand up and to defend or to stop it in some way is a good thing. And it is your virtue to do so, if you know it to be true. Now, there could be some times when that isn't true, but if it is, act upon it. That's virtue. To do your best in every circumstance, to live your highest ideals. This is virtue, and it makes you in a good relationship with your soul. I remember hearing a philosopher say, don't ever let your children do anything that would make you dislike them. It's kind of like that. Don't do anything that would make you dislike yourself. Be a good intent, and we will make mistakes. And I have made mistakes. So let me just get that up front. I have made mistakes, so if you come and tell me you've made a mistake, I'll go, oh, brother, oh, sister, I understand. We do that. And I have done it deliberately, consciously, over months at a time. So if you're doing that, don't do it anymore. So this idea is one of three main ideas that Stoics have, which is to be in tune with your highest self, your genius. And in unity, we would say be in alignment with your Christ self. Attend to life from the Christ presence, not so much just from your human presence. Now, of course, our human presence is involved in this, and your human needs and wants are not antithetical to the divine presence, but be in alignment with your higher self to the best of your understanding at the moment. And granted, that may change. That's okay. The second thing that you want to do is to recognize that which you can control and that which you cannot control, and pay all your attention to that which you can control and less or little to what you cannot control. How many of you have been watching the Olympics and seen people who have devoted their lives for the last several years to one goal, making a success of themselves at the Olympics? And for many of us, with aspirations anyway, but for many of us, we would say, I just want the gold. I would feel bad if I got second or third. But you see these people who have dedicated their life to it. They have given everything they have. They have gotten up early and they've stayed up late. They've worked hard. They've done their best to be clean and to recover with in the proper way. They've done everything they can. They are trying as hard as they can. In the moment, they are right there, and they don't even get on the podium. But the ones who get on the podium, the second and third places, are still grinning like they won. Because they did what they could do. They control what they could control, and they can't control that there's somebody faster, stronger, better than them. But they can control what they do. That's why they could be happy in that moment. Because it wasn't just the outcome, it was the development of themselves. Their goals were what pushed them to become a better person, a better athlete. That's what caused it to happen. And then if they give it everything and they have jumped as high as they can land in a place of happiness. Because they have done their best. And they can't control the rest. They can't control that maybe they were born slightly shorter or slightly weaker or any of that. They can't control that, but they have done their best. They can't control that they had a cold last week and couldn't train. They can't control that there was a death in their family. They can't control. They didn't really understand how to play the game right. They can't control that, but they can control what they controlled, and on that they placed their effort. And that is the key to being successful, being resilient, coming back. Know what's in your power to control. The farmer plants. He hoes. He waters. A thunderstorm comes. The hail falls. The crop is lost. I don't usually do this, but I will today. Think of God as a human being making a creation pie. And everything's, all these laws and these tendencies and et cetera, are put in there. And they're put in such a way that they form a perfect mix. And things are so incredibly beautiful, dovetailed, that it always works out. And it tastes pretty good, but just like salt, he thought he'd add a little bit of uncertainty, chaos, randomness. 3 spices that make this an adventure and not a predictable thing. Right? So you could think of God as kind of like going, well, the pie was pretty good, but I like cayenne pepper in it. And we think that if we can't control everything, there's something wrong with us. You can't even actually control your initial response in the moment, many times. You know, someone will fire a gun near your head, you might jerk and you might turn in anger or fear. Something like that might happen, but the next thing, the chaos is there, but the next thing is how we respond to it. And if we have practice in our life, recognizing what is happening, paid close attention to how things are going, including the internal dialogue and internal emotions we have. If we had been alert to who we are as well as what's happening there on an ongoing basis, not gone to sleep at the wheel, then as soon as something happens, we have the room. It might be small, but we have a gap. And the gap between continuing to act out of that first reaction or to choose to react in a different way. And in that gap, you begin to gain control what is yours. This is yours. This is what you can do, because what has happened has already happened. Now, what will you do with it? This is the main thing. This is the critical part of owning your life and developing resilience, is because you cannot help what has happened. You are diagnosed with cancer. I was talking to a woman after church this morning. She said, I was diagnosed with cancer. And she said she didn't take it personally. She never asked the question, why me? She says, what am I going to do about it? She said, 1 in 8 women get breast cancer. And I looked around the room and there were 7 other women. Must be me. Right? That's how she took it. And from there she went on to heal. Some things are within our control. Perhaps diet, exercise, etc. How many of those athletes do you have heard of died while exercising after eating a vegan meal? Do you know what I mean? It's like, what do I have to do? But they just croak no matter what, right? And all of us, I don't mean to make croaking nothing, but let's get in line. It's going to happen. One day, you won't be here. Talk about randomness. You don't even know when. So we're doing wills here. I want you to, so. Should tell you something. We've been doing wills now for a few months. Let it sink in. So, you have an event, you have maybe an initial reaction, and you have choice, and now you decide. And now you go back to the first thing. Live as high as you possibly can according to your ideals. And in that moment, do your best to choose, to overcome your tendencies, to overcome what would be habituated by the world and maybe by your own behavior. Overcome, and now choose what to do. And now you are that person that has agency in your own life. You are in control of what you can be in control of, and you are not focusing on what you cannot control. You're focusing on what you can. And a lot of it is because it's most easy to do. We have become goal-oriented, as though the goal was the thing we really wanted, and when in fact that is nice, but unpredictable. But what is possible is to change our character to be in alignment with our soul. And the goal are the tests that push us toward doing that, and the feedback, how are we doing on that way? How do we treat this moment when we succeed? How do we meet it when we lose? This is the development of your personal self, bringing that which is divine into actualization in this moment, which is the job of those who choose to take it. To be your best self, as often as you can. And then, this is the kicker and the fun part, when you lose control, when you do not act the way you should, when you have totally blown it and made it difficult for yourself and others, how many of us go, well, I'm so embarrassed I can't breathe. I'm so lost, I don't know what to do. How many of us, like me, carry this for not 1 year, Not 2 years, not 20, not 25, not 40, but 43 years. How about that? Is that not past? Has not it already ended? Meaning there is nothing you can do about it? Is it not out of your control? Is it gone? It is gone. It's not in your hands anymore. You did it. Now you may need to clean it up, but you did it. And to move on is to be wise. To carry that over and over and over and over in your mind is not wise. It's a waste of your potential because you cannot be moving towards something while you're backing up at the same time. Choose to let it go. You must let it go. Les Brown says, forgive your failings and your mistakes and move on. Nelson Mandela, my hero, says this. The reason I want to bring up Nelson Mandela before I start. So Nelson Mandela, was arrested as being a part of a group that was trying to overthrow the government of South Africa. And they were often beaten and tortured and killed, his group, but they were also kind of tough themselves on other people. And so he wasn't exactly a saint when he went to prison. I don't think he was. But in prison, suffering the indignities of prison and the hard labor he was forced to, he could have gotten to be angrier and more willing to do violence to another person. Instead, he chose another path to control what he could control, himself. And he realized if he couldn't get over the hurts of the past and how things were going, he would never stand as he wanted to be a man. He had to let it go. And so he had tough conditioning. He really learned how to know what was his to control and what was not. And so on that basis, he transformed his character to where, when he was, his circumstances were changed and he was released. And most of that was done by other people, those changing. He stood in the place of power, not as someone to get revenge, not as someone who would make a point of making others suffer, but to transform his country by helping them realize that they could reconcile if they could let the past be past. He did that. Who among us would not have liked to have met Nelson Mandela, shook his hand, maybe caught something in that connection that would let us do the same with our own lives? Whether it was something tragic that happened to us or something we did, should we not let it go? Should we not attend to that which we can change and forget what we cannot? Let it go. Nelson Mandela said this: "Do not judge me by my success, judge me by how many times I fell down and got back up again." And that means when the others beat him down, but also when he failed to be Nelson Mandela. Maya Angelou, I can change by what happens to me, but I refuse to be reduced by it. How many of us let something happen and we lose it? Maybe not forever, but we lose it. And resilience is not letting it reduce you. J.K. Rawling said this: "Rock bottom became the solid foundation in which I built my life." And how many of us know this, like Maya Angelou said, I can be changed by what happens to me, but I refuse to be reduced by it, and that is coupled with what Michelle Obama said. Grief and resilience live together. So we can still be suffering from the effects of what has happened. We don't have to be glib about it. We don't have to say it didn't happen. We don't have to deny the pain. We don't have to be insensitive to life, but we can be resilient. And we become resilient by applying ourselves to where we can make effort, where we can make changes, and not where we can't. The man who's driving down the Glenwood Avenue at 60, 75 miles an hour and cutting in front of you as though his ambition was to make it only 2 inches between his bumper and yours. Can you control that? Can you control what other people think of you? You might try. We as teenagers got really into that. It was like the course we were taking at the time was, what do other people think of us and where do we fit in? And maybe we need to pass that test and maybe we didn't. But it is a developmental stage. It is not the way we should live our lives. We do not live our lives according to what other people think. One philosopher said this, it's really odd that we love ourselves the most of anybody, but we care most what other people think. So you can't control that. You can do a lot to affect it, but you can't control it. I don't know how many times I've done things and people have come to me and said, you know, you were the biggest jerk I've ever seen. And I go, I didn't know I was the biggest. There are limits on our control. So if you do those two, you'll be taking responsibility. You'll be taking responsibility for your life, for what you can be responsible for and not for what you can't. And when you take responsibility, you have capacity. You become responsible, and that responsibility gives you the ability to respond, to make motion in the direction you want it to go. That's what resilience is about. It's not that you don't get beat down, but that you get up. It's not how many times you got beat down, it's how many times you got up. And granted, there's a bit of toughness that needs to happen. You know, there's a phrase they say about Americans. Americans can take anything but inconvenience. And sometimes I remember going to Nepal. I was in Nepal and riding in the bus, and there was a little girl, 7 maybe, sitting on the seat beside us. And she threw up. She was all by herself. She threw up. She pulled herself back together and kept on riding. Resilience. It's not that everything has to go your way to have a successful life. It is that you meet the challenge. Think of Helen Keller. Helen Keller went blind at one point in her life. She went blind, and many people really respect Helen Keller not because she had it easy, but because she had it hard. So remember, the game ain't over till it's over. Thank you, Yogi Berra. The game ain't over until it's over. And if you think about this, if you take a spiritual point of view about who you are as a being, you realize that your spirit is not one of those things that can die. That's one of the things that continues. And even when it's over, it's not over. So you keep playing the game as though you can win it. You charge into the Olympics of your life as though you are the hero of this story, and you take the blows and you get up and you keep moving because that's who you are. And when you can't, you come to a place like this. And you go, I can't get up. And someone looks at you and just goes, I know. You'll get better. And that's how you build community at depth. You do hard things together. You do dangerous things together. And you feel hard pain together. That's how you build deep friendships. So don't be afraid to be yourself when you're not your best here. I see so many people get sick and don't come back until they're well. Right? Now, is that smart? I don't think so. You have friends here. Even if you don't know them, they're on your side. This is why community matters, why we're stronger together than we are apart. So let's remember that when we feel weak. It's part of life. Let's pray. Come back to your hearts. Come back, because this is the place where we can hold both loss and possibility. Where we can be disappointed and feel the feeling and yet find courage. Where we can be shamed and yet still love. You are born as a spark of the divine. You are born as a live expression of the creative force. You are born to unfold and to become like a rose on a beautiful Sunday afternoon. You were born to be you. And you will take some blows. And you will have some losses. And life will be unfair at times. But as Nietzsche said, that which does not kill us will make us stronger. Use your heart to have compassion for yourself. Use your mind to know what is yours to do and what is none of your business. Use the good examples of Jesus and other people to shoot high, to be in good relationship with your soul. Knocked down 8 times, got up 9. And so it is. Amen. I hope you got something out of today's service. We intend to bring you things that will help you in your life become more of who you want to be, give you the freedom of forgiveness and the hope of expectancy that your life will unfold in a way that brings you joy, happiness, and is a contribution to the world. If you would like to contribute to this ministry, please go to unitytriangle.org, hit the donate button, and it will lead you into an easy way of doing that. We thank you for your attention and look forward to seeing you again here.